Jay Viper is awesome. And he quote tweeted his original post saying, I pulled more data. Looks like the best case is 1.4 to 1.7 million for Ghost of Yōtei. And said, thanks to Endymion Contact citing 1.1 million digital sales of Yōtei and comparing that to the Alinea Analytics data stating 1.6 digital and physical, I once again have proven my method is accurate as I have had the numbers on Monday. Really all weekend as I tracked it. The biggest takeaway for me remains the massive declining sales I see on Yōtei after day one, which echoes the reporting on That Park Place. Sony scaling back marketing due to disappointing sales. This game will struggle along with disappointing ROI. It will break past even. It's right around even, budget plus marketing, but it won't sniff 100% ROI and likely never 50%. It's not a total flaw, but it's a disappointment at market. Expect changes at Sucker Punch with additional Sony oversight for their third installment and a male lead. And to the haters, you get to know that I was right. And you know the best part about this? Here we go. Calling it right now. You're absolutely right, Jay. Jin Sakai will return in the next installment. And they're going to make a proper Ghost of Tsushima 2. And this is going to turn into the ugly stepchild of the family, where people are going to look back at it and be like, yeah, remember when they did that? And it was like not well received by the vast majority of gamers. Yeah, that was wild. Anyways, we're back to having Jin here and having the story we really wanted. Anyways, we have Astro Cyborg saying, Reforged copes about SkillUp's take on Ghost of Yōtei, open world, and it lacks innovation. The way ponies are so upset about his criticism is hilarious because he's being very fair. And no, I don't know why Reforged calls SkillUp by his name and not his YouTube name either. Well, that's like a lefty lunatic tactic. It's the same thing Alyssa Mercante does to me, where she's like, well, you call me by Alyssa Mercante. I'm like, bitch, your name online is Alyssa Mercante. If you call yourself Alyssa News Network, I'd be like Alyssa News Network. You go by what your name is online. It's like a dog whistle thing that these lefty lunatics do, trying to think that they're getting at people by calling them out by their real name. It's like, that's not what we do here. It goes to show the true colors of these people. Anyways, let's hear some coping.
Keep in mind, the way that he views open world games is very, very much a part of the framing, okay? Let's keep watching.
Where there was nowhere else for it to go. On that basis, I was really hopeful that developers would begin to reimagine the foundations of this genre so they could push new frontiers and deliver us something we hadn't experienced before, rather than...
Like with the SkillUp review, I feel like it was like actually super unbiased. Said nothing about the studio being woke or girl boss or anything. None of that even entered any part of his conversation with it. He's just like, no, this is the same thing with a different protagonist, and the game should have done something different. This is boring. It's dumb. That was my main takeaway from the review. A banger review by SkillUp, by the way. Highly recommend everyone checking it out.
Another version of a game we've played dozens of times now. Ghost of Yōtei is exactly what I had pleaded for Sucker Punch to not make. It's Ghost of Tsushima again.
But without Jin. I think people would have been fine with Ghost of Tsushima again with Jin, with a storyline that progressed from the first one. But if you're going to divert from the protagonist, you better do something very different with the game. Otherwise, people are going to feel like it's a very hollow experience.
Better visuals and a way worse story. We'll do the full review, don't worry, but that really is the strapline. If you've played Ghost of Tsushima, you have already played this. With how central storytelling is in these sorts of open world games, I came away from Yōtei feeling not a lot of love for it, despite...
Now here's the thing. Hase
Hope incoming!
Comes in with a 5-bomb. Thank you so much. This is where my first strongest form of disagreement is going to be with Ralph. I don't think you could...
Why would you call him Ralph? That's such a weird thing to do. Are you his buddy? Is this your way of trying to act like you know SkillUp? Ralph?
Say, oh yeah, if you played Tsushima, you played Yōtei, okay? And I really do think the context is really helpful. I think it's something that should be applauded, that he's very transparent on the outset. Like, his expectations were that this game...
That's what I really appreciate about SkillUp's review, is he opened it up saying this is what he expected going into it, and it's not that. As opposed to like what IGN was reviewing Battlefield 6 and being like, oh, it's not meeting any of these expectations that I had. What are the expectations? I'm not going to tell you. Like, because you don't, they can't meet expectations because there's nothing that you told us what you're looking for. At least Skill Up said this is what he expected, and the game is just the same thing again.
Was going to do significant things for open world games. I don't think that expectation is necessarily fair of a sequel. I don't expect a sequel to do that. Why? Because a lot of what it's going to do, it's going to lean on and build upon the game in front of it, the game that preceded it, like Horizon Forbidden West as an example.
I would argue that Forbidden West was actually not great. I don't know if that's a good example.
Expecting that to completely revolutionize open world games, it's going to build on what Horizon Zero Dawn had already done.
Okay. Again, with the mentality of the same protagonist and extending the storyline, I might actually agree with you on that. If this was Ghost of Tsushima 2 with Jin, yes, I think I'm with you. This is not that. That's exactly what the problem is. This is insert girl boss as the lead protagonist and run with a new story.
And if you actually go and look, Skill Up really liked Horizon Forbidden West, and he says something in a little bit here about how people can change.
I can understand why he would like that, because it would continue the story of the first one. If you like the first one and you continue the story with it, I get that. Again, dude, this is not that. My
assessment, just off the cuff from the 30,000-foot view diagnosis, is he has very much soured on open world games, and I think that really affected his enjoyment of this. I don't think it's reasonable to say, well, I expect this sequel to revolutionize or completely change the way an open world is experienced. I actually think Yōtei has done significant things to do that, which I'm going to be interested to see if he talks about those things in this video. Like, did he engage with those new features? Or
why wouldn't you... Instead of just saying this ominous thing, why wouldn't you say the new features right now so that we understand what your expectations are? You're just saying, oh, there are things that it does new. What? What does it do new? The armor does new? Great. Oh, cool. New armor. Gotcha.
Or not. We will see if he does in the video.
What the hell? You love Ghost of Tsushima. If this is so similar, why are you dunking on it so hard? Well, I guess it's two things. Number one, people change and their tastes change and evolve, especially when there's so many of these sorts of games and they all feel so familiar. You do get tired of them. But also, you know, I made this specific point 5 years ago. I said it was time for this formula to evolve, but it hasn't evolved one iota here in Yōtei.
And right there is where I had pretty strong disagreement with him yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's very sweeping to say that it hasn't evolved one iota.
I agree. It has evolved. They injected a girl boss and completely changed the direction of the series. So I guess you could call that devolved.
I do not agree with that. I think they have done things to evolve the open world experience.
How?
I'm experiencing Yōtei vastly different than Tsushima.
How?
And it's because I'm engaging with those new mechanics. It's because I'm
What new mechanics?
Intentionally deciding to just explore the world and let the world carry me along. As an example, just last night, I was checking a portion of the map I had not been to yet. I go over there, and lo and behold, what do I find? A bunch of cool stuff. I'm not going to spoil it.
This motherfucker, as an example, something cool happened. I'm not going to spoil it. Like, well, what the fuck? People come to YouTubers for insight. Give the insight. Don't just trust me, bro shit, because it's not going to hold any weight. What the hell was that? I'm like, oh, we're actually getting an example here. And then he's like, I don't want to spoil it.
I see this cool stuff, and I'm like, what's
cool stuff? Bunch of cool stuff, guys. Trust me, bro. Hey, just buy the game, all right? Can you just buy it? Please. It's really cool. You just got to trust me.
What's going on over here? There's this cool stuff. I meet a guy.
Oh, my God. Take a shot every time he says cool stuff. No, don't. Don't do that. Don't do that.
And I get the Kasurigama. It opened up the quest line and the NPC for the Kasurigama. Like, I just found that. I just stumbled upon that.
So the same type of stuff you can do in Ghost of Tsushima. Did he play the original?
I didn't. I wasn't given a quest marker. I wasn't told to go over there. I just discovered it. And that's been the way that I've been experiencing it. And I even said, if you look on Twitter, a lot of people on Twitter that are...
I actually really like Reforged Gaming. because he's so easy to dunk on. Like, it's so easy. He like puts it on a tee. Every time I cover one of his videos, I'm like, oh my God, this guy's great. He's so easy to cover. This is rookie league here.
Loving this game are like 30 or 40 hours in, and they only have 1 or 2 stripes on their belt. They've barely even touched the Yōtei 6 mainline story. They're primarily just engrossing themselves in the world. If Ralph has very much soured to open world games, as he says, you know, people can change. My worry and concern is that that's gonna really contribute to a lot of his viewpoint here, to the point that he's saying they didn't evolve at 1 iota. I'm like, man, that I don't think that is something that I would agree with. That sounds like we played very different games. So
okay, well, I'm deciding personally to agree with Skill Up on this, because Skill Up explains what his expectations were and what Yōtei gave him. What you just said is, no, that's not true. Trust me, bro.
The need for new frontiers. I made that point because if you enjoy these sorts of open world games, then Ghost of Tsushima didn't have any flaws that needed to be fixed in a sequel. The only place Sucker Punch could go was innovation, and there's just none of it here. And imagine where Sucker Punch could have taken.
So he's doubled down again, and he says there's no innovation. I can't disagree with that any strongerly.
Okay, so Reforged Gaming, this is what I'm getting out of it. Deep down, he's not going to admit this, but deep down, he considers inserting girl boss protagonists, because he's a hardcore woke lefty lunatic. I'm getting that from just him calling Skill Up Ralph. Yes, I got all that just from that. Yes. He's going to try to subvert the girl boss being the main change, even though deep down subconsciously, that's what he's really thinking. And now his brain is spinning right now, trying to come up with another reason why it's moved forward.
Any more strongly than I already have, to say there's not 1 iota of evolution, and I'll say there is no innovation.
Girl boss, innovation, evolution. Like, this is what his brain's telling him, but he can't verbalize it because he knows that's going to sound really stupid.
Oh my gosh, that feels like it's really missing some of the pretty significant things that they did. And the way
cool stuff they did. What? Literally no examples. Still, what even is this?
Described it the other day is the size of a change is not as important as its impact. Okay, if I put a pebble in your shoe, it's very small, but the impact of what it's going to do to your day would be very disruptive. And
okay, so now he's giving real life examples relating it to a game where he's not giving any examples to anything. So what's the point of giving a real life example to anything?
Until you removed it, right? So even a pebble can have massive impact. I think some of the small changes they made to open world exploration have had an enormous impact on my experience, because I'm actually using those new things.
What?
So to say there's no innovation, to say there's no evolution, I don't agree. I think there's been a good amount of it, but you've got to engage with those things.
This is actually embarrassing. If I put this video out, I would be embarrassed. Covering Skill Up and trying to knock him, and then not have any examples for anything. Just saying he's wrong. Trust me, bro. Over and over again. It's like, what even is this? This is terrible.
I'm going to see if he can make his case. Is he going to say...
I'm sure he makes a case better than you do.
They were too weak or not significant enough. Is he going to acknowledge any of those changes at all? We will see as we watch the video.
Ghost of Yōtei is defined by the familiar feeling it evokes. The one where even though you're experiencing something new, your brain is telling you that you have seen this before. It's generic revenge story, it's lifeless characters, it's unchanged open world structure, and it's familiar combat. Ghost of Yōtei cements Ghost of Tsushima as the zenith of this genre. And unless studios are willing to remix things a hell of a lot more than this, then it's going to be all downhill from here.
I don't agree, because I believe that this game has put things into it that we've seen in other open world games, and it contextualized it.
Are those things maybe cool stuff? I'm going to go out on a limb and say that's what he's thinking.
Within how this world operates with the wind especially. So I would argue that this is now the zenith. Like, this is what I expect from future open world games.
Why? You haven't even explained why. You're just saying it's better. Why?
I think this one is the one that they should be modeled after. See, this I think
Oh, girl boss, gotcha. That's what you want. Cuck chair, girl boss, got it.
this is the problem with the way he's setting this up is if you're creating an open world game right now and you just look at Tsushima and you don't look at Yōtei, you're going to miss out on a lot of great features that change the open world experience in Yōtei. And so I think that's an egregious mistake to make, to be like, well, yeah, just copy Tsushima, it's the Zenith. No, I believe Yōtei has significantly elevated how an open world can be experienced because of its size and scope. They allow you to play it in the way you can play Hell Is Us, which is actually pretty ambitious to give the player that freedom if they want it, because it could literally lead to frustration. But
so his first point he makes is because of the size and scope. We are 7 minutes into it, out of a 7 minute and 34-second clip. Size and scope is what makes Yōtei better. I got to be honest, guys. When I played Tsushima, the size and scope was massive and perfect. I wouldn't want it any bigger than that. So what was he looking for? Like, did he want it bigger than Tsushima? Tsushima's a massive world. What are you looking for in these games?
open world design, I think, is quite good in this. And Jay Hart with a $5 super chat. I just beat the game. It took about 65 hours. I think the story is better than Tsushima and definitely more than a revenge story. I'm going to make a video in the future on, I think there are such deeper themes in this than just revenge. So when he says it's a generic revenge story, that also doesn't seem to line up with the experience I have had after a very similar amount of playtime as him. He said over 40 hours. I just hit 36 last night. So
you don't want to provide any insight to people. You're about the same amount of time through the game, and you won't provide any insight. And Skillet provides all of it. Gotcha. These are the haters, by the way. The people that are coping and seething. They're so mad. And they're everywhere. We got Skinny Dip, Yorch, Grums, and Smash JT all appear in Ghost of Yōtei, which, by the way, I was not tagged in this, and no one sent this to me. This was just on my For You tab on X. I was like, oh, hey, my name. Oh, and someone's trying to make fun of me. Okay, let's watch. Wow. Hold on. I just noticed this. This dude over here, he just clips right through the curtain. Look at him clipping right through it. Oh, God. Girl boss. All the boys run away. The girl showed up. Alucard, someone wants attention. Is this the guy? Soy boy cuck to the extreme. How about this one? Good friend of the channel, Alyssa Mercante says, current or former Sucker Punch employees, I'm looking to talk to people about company culture, Ghost of Yōtei harassment, and the events that took place last month. I can protect your identity. It would be immensely helpful for a story I'm working on. My information below, and shares this this link here to scan with your phone if you'd like to provide any information to Alyssa Mercante if you work at Sucker Punch. This is a trend for Alyssa where she has an idea for a story, creates a target, and then aims to hit that target at any cost, up to and including ignoring reality to make sure she shapes the narrative in the direction of what she wants it to say. I know, you're all shocked. But that's the situation with Ghost of Yōtei. And I guess we'll leave it at this real quick. I just want to play a couple minutes of Endymion's latest video. This is a banger. Highly recommend checking out the entire video. But this is Endymion with his actual inside sources information with Ghost of Yōtei sales. Believe it or not, I choose to believe him.
I've officially gained information from sources on whether Ghost of Yōtei has sold well or not in its first very crucial week of release. But a few caveats and such before I get there. Firstly, these numbers are digital only, so no physical sales, although I'll get into those after a bit later on too. Secondly, the numbers that I was given are only for all of Europe, United States of America, and Canada combined,
Those are
which,
the big
let's be
ones.
real, those are the biggest markets for games like a Sony first-party game anyway, so this means that the numbers that I was given are still, well, pretty bleak. Okay, with that out of the way, what do you think? 2 million copies? 3? Maybe 5 million copies? The official number for Ghost of Yōtei's digital sales for its first week as of this video anyways is 1.1 million copies sold so far.
That is so bad. Like, so bad. I think like an acceptable number of first week sales for this game, based off of all the press going into it and launch and everyone buying digital these days and everything going in, 2 million minimum for this massive title. Like, genuinely, it is trailing behind Ghost of Tsushima by over 40% right now. It is so bad. I cannot underscore that enough. J Viper and Demian were spot on. And I know all the haters to try to cope with this and be like, well, it's actually good because, well, you see, there's a lot of physical copies that got sent to stores. Yeah, and no one bought them. That doesn't count as a sale. That counts as a copy that went to a store that gets returned to the distributor after a certain amount of time.
Yep, it's bleak. It's actually not good at all, and I already know me saying this out loud is going to piss off every single defender of this game. But I was given this information directly from people who have all the access and such to this sort of information, so it's verified and it's not looking good, fellas.
Oof.
But I was also given more. Firstly, Yōtei in its first week, based on data, has sold 40% more than Tsushima digitally. But this is likely due to the goodwill that Tsushima built as the start of the franchise 5 years ago. From
Sold more digitally, but sold far less physically.
When I was also told, in most big places in the world for comparison, Tsushima was a pretty even 50-50 split with physical and digital sales. However, for Yōtei in Europe, it's looking more like 70% digital, 30% physical these days. Which is not surprising considering that most games sold these days are usually via digital sales anyways, let's be honest.
Which would explain why there's less physical sales, but it doesn't explain the making up for the lack of sales compared to Tsushima.
And from these people's professional opinions, the general consensus that I was given is that they are looking at Yōtei's first week sales as not bad to somewhat disappointed. But they frankly believe that it should have done way better than it has already.
And it would have if they just did what people wanted. That's what crushes people. Like, imagine if this was Jin Sakai and a Ghost of Tsushima 2, I would be streaming this game immediately, day one. I've been looking forward to it. I would have probably put off Silksong, being like, no, I want to get to Tsushima 2. That's my game. I have to play that game day one. This game, don't give a shit. Sorry. You missed me with this girl boss.
Their expert opinions, they told me that Tsushima sold slightly less than Yōtei in its first week, but it's not exactly a good sign because Tsushima was an unknown new franchise at the time. So naturally, it's expected that when a new franchise has a crazy start like Tsushima did, which let's look at that data from 5 years ago, if you don't mind, as seen here from Sony themselves 5 years ago. Tsushima was the fastest selling new IP in Sony's history at the time with 2.4 million units sold in its first week. Yōtei has not sold anywhere near.
Wow. That explains why they're not announcing anything right now, because they know the chuds would screenshot it and then show that screenshot and be like, so
that, unfortunately for them. It's actually probably about half of that. Again, that 1.1 million units is for digital only, but again, digital is the strongest sell for most games, and the fact that Sony was barely able to break just over 1 million copies sold, and arguably their 3 biggest markets that cover most of the planet is, well, let's be real guys, not good at all. There's a reason why Sucker Punch and Sony have been so quiet lately on Yōtei. It's because based on that data, the game is not necessarily a flop. I wouldn't say that, that yet, but it's also not doing gangbusters or splitting the heavens or any.
It's extremely average. Extremely average. And the problem is they can't afford this game to be average, especially after Concord. Especially after they canceled that other game too. I can't remember. And canceled all the God of War, Spider-Man, Last of Us multiplayer, all the online stuff. They've been canceling so much shit, buying up studios, and have nothing to show for it except for raising the prices of PlayStation 5s and selling a game, Ghost of Yōtei, that basically breaks even. That's not good. There's been so much mismanagement and loss of money for Sony in the games division lately that you wonder about the sustainability for them in the future with it. I know they already announced the PlayStation 6 and all this other stuff going on in the future. PlayStation 6 announced for 2027, I think they said. It's a hard date. Will be coming out then. My goodness, that is sketch, because based off of the trajectory right now with Sony, it doesn't look great. Doesn't look great. But we'll see. I'm not going to keep playing more of this. Check out Endymion's video. It's a very, very good video. Highly recommend. He has a really good source. On point. I believe him. It's in line with Jay Viper and the information that he was putting together as well. And line it up with Famitsu's sales in Japan. It paints a very bleak picture for Sony in general and Sucker Punch. And I wouldn't be surprised if there are changes at Sucker Punch happening in the next few months that are not publicized, but you can bet your ass when it happens, I'm going to be making videos on it, because that's going to prove everyone right. When we're like, this is a problem. It's a bad direction. Don't do it. You're putting your career at risk. And oh, well, if it's not the consequences of your own actions for inserting a girl boss into what should have been the easiest grand slam in the world, just doing Ghost of Tsushima 2. I'll leave that one there.